Jenna Yoon studied art history at Wellesley College and received her master's degree in Korean art history from Ewha Women's University. She's lived about half her life in both Korea and the United States. When she's not writing, Jenna loves to travel, find yummy eats, play board games, and take skincare very seriously. Currently, she lives in Austin, Texas. Over to you, Jenna.
Hi, my name is Jenna Yoon, and I'm the author of Leah Park and the Missing Jewel. Before I read, to tell you a little bit about the story, Leah Park is a Korean American tween, and her family belongs to a secret magic organization, which she's always wanted to be a part of, except for one big problem. She doesn't have any magic. So she decides, you know what, she'll be part of the normal people world instead. And so one day she gets an invitation to the birthday party of the year, which she believes is going to change her life, make it so much better. Her parents forbid her from going, but she sneaks off and goes anyway, which sets off a whole chain of events leading to her parents being kidnapped. She travels with her best friend June, and they follow the clues left behind by her parents to South Korea, and she needs to recover this dragon jewel before it's too late. So I'll be reading a little bit from chapter 1. Left foot forward, left foot back, right foot forward, right foot back. I closed my eyes and moved to the sound of the beating drum. My arms swept through the air as I drew a figure 8 using alternating circular motions. Loosen your legs, Leah. You need to relax, instructed Master Chino. 네, 선생님. Yes, teacher. Even before he said it, I knew. Nerves had gotten the best of me, and my legs were too stiff. I tightened the belt around my uniform and took a deep breath to clear my mind. In front of me, June stepped in perfect rhythm with the beating drum. To the untrained eye, it probably looked like we were dancing, but this was actually a pretty deadly practice called taekyon, a traditional Korean martial art. Even before taekyon was officially listed as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage, we've been practicing it for centuries, keeping it alive. June glanced at the holographic image of Master Chino shooting out from the silver box in the middle of the room. Master Chino clapped his hands and, to no one's surprise, said, "Excellent Pumbaki, June." I wanted to roll my eyes, but I smiled and nodded in agreement. Pumbaki, or stepping on triangles footwork, was super important, and today June had it down. Maybe I'd be just as relaxed as June if my magic power manifested like his had. Everyone knew that if you didn't have any inkling of magic by the age of 12, it was most likely something that would never happen. I turned 12 a few months ago. Normally, I was pretty good at taekyon, but I couldn't concentrate today. Feelings of dread welled up in the pit of my stomach. I knew how all this would end, not well, because, too bad for me, the annual exam to get into the International Magic Agency-sponsored school had 3 parts: taekyon, academics, and magic. It really wasn't fair. I was so much better than June, but he could do the one thing I couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. "We'll do 1 round of sparring," Master Chino said as he sat down on a chair. "Nay." We strapped on chest guards and helmets. I patted my arms and legs. This was supposed to stimulate blood flow and circulation. After a brief moment, we faced each other and focused on our footwork, swaying back and forth. The key was to maintain eye contact, read the situation, and react quickly. June lifted up his left leg and kicked me. I deflected it with my arm and slapped his foot out of the way. Without missing a beat, I immediately responded with a high kick that landed square on the side of his helmet. June fell backward with a yelp. "There we go, Leah." Master Chino leaped to his feet and cheered, giving me 2 thumbs up. Always the fast learner. June grumbled as he sat up. His birthmark peeked out of his uniform, and I motioned for him to cover it. It made him self-conscious, and he hated showing it to anyone, not even me, his best friend. He quickly adjusted his uniform. "This is just practice. You didn't have to strike so hard." "Sorry, I didn't mean to." I reached out to help, but he waved my hand away and jumped up. Master Chino chuckled. "That's what the protective gear is for. We must practice hard to be ready." We stood shoulder to shoulder and bowed to Master Juno. He bowed back and said, "Keep practicing together. You're more than ready for the exam." Red lights flickered on the silver box, and the image of Master Juno faded away. After we changed, we sat down on the foam mat and stretched. I reached for my toes and pressed my face against my knees. The backs of my legs burned from the session today. June rubbed his hands together and chanted Yakson, medicine hands. Ever since I'd known him, which seemed like forever, he'd always had this ability. Lucky him. Once his hands started to glow an orangish color, he placed them on his shoulder. The color transferred from his hands and enveloped the injured area. Even though I'd seen him do this a million times, it never got boring. I mean, how cool was it that he could heal himself? So basically, as long as he didn't get fatally wounded, he could heal himself just like that, which is why his complaining that it hit him too hard was just ridiculous. He moved his neck side to side as he rolled his shoulder. "Good as new. I forgive you for pummeling me." "I should have gone even harder," I joked back. "Have you gotten your power yet?" I shook my head and took in a deep breath. "It's too late for me. We could keep practicing. Maybe it'll show up soon. There's still time." Things weren't looking so good for me. People were either born with magic powers or they weren't. Simple as that. It wasn't entirely dependent on genetics, more like luck of the draw. But I had heard that if you were born into a family of magic, the odds of having powers yourself were higher. I doubted being born to parents with very low doses of magic helped my chances. Appa had eidetic memory, better known as photographic memory, a pretty useless skill in a day and age when everything could be looked up on the phone. Amma had the power of, wait for it, flexibility. And she wasn't even that flexible. Yoga level flexible, not superhero level. So my gene pool wasn't all that great. All I ever wanted was to be part of IMA, fight monsters, and be one of the 4 protectors of the world. Of course, normal people couldn't actually see monsters. They concealed themselves well, blending in with humans. Some minded their own business, while others, the ones we were trained to fight, they were the bad ones. End the world, steal your soul, open the gates to the spirit world type of bad.